Hi Sean, it's David Blankenship. Here's a quick video for you. I'll just show you a live system. This will tide you over until we get a live demo up on the web where you can just play with it and interact. We should have that in the next couple of weeks. But I'll show you a system right now and you can take a look and see it a little more firsthand. Basically, I've just come into the system. Our system is called Situation Analyst. The company's name is Intterra, but it does a few things. This is just showing where calls are and where units are moving around, sort of a situation status thing with live updates all the time. But what you're most interested in is the performance metrics and analytics. And I'll also swing by and show you structure pre-plans. That's an everyday firefighter use of the system. But in the interest of making a minute or two long video, we'll just do it like this. All right. First of all, to orient you, the entire menu over here can just collapse. It's a real map-driven system. These are the calls that have come in the last 24 hours or so. And I can just see which units, which incidents, what they did. It's tied to the records management system, and it's tied to CAD. So I can see all the times, I can see all the durations, and all that raw data. But more importantly, I can navigate through it. I have sort of a briefing view here that shows incidents going on in the region and nationally. We do all the national wildfire stuff. I have a layers view. I can switch base maps. I can turn on and off layers. I can even turn on and off things within sort of layers. So in this case, I just want to see first due districts and the battalions. I could turn on other things, including recent imagery or your kind of data. And then I just want to, this next one would be where I would edit. And then this tools menu right here is where I'll focus real quick with you. We do standards of cover, unit level performance, which is like the raw data reported for stations so they can just see how they're doing in turnout and travel time. Incident performance, looking at it on an incident basis versus like a unit performance basis. And then they're tracking some ambulance and transport contracts here, who pays who, but I'll show you real quick. Standards of cover is the biggest one. This ties right to their data. I can pick any time fractal. Right now it's going back and loading up 5 years of data. You're used to some accreditation kinds of things, but I can pick a time period. I'll just pick 3 months in this case. I can narrow down by station, by jurisdiction, those are battalions, by types of incidents, like effective response force, second arriving, all those kinds of things that you do fool with accreditation. And then, of course, I can do metro, suburban, rural, the normal sort of CPSC stuff. And what it's doing right away is showing how we're doing for all these 4 categories: alarm, processing, turnout, travel, and total time. I can map those in the map. Let me, for instance, show you how our performance happens with the scrub data, 90th percentile stuff, in sort of this visual way. I can break this down and see my percentage of non-compliant things or total calls or non-compliant things at a town level or at a 100-meter level, like in a neighborhood, or at a street level. And this is just the first time you'll ever get a real visual of like where your problem is, not just a still district or a first due district having a problem or a planning zone of some kind, but what occupancy is driving that. So that's interesting. And this allows the department to see any of these kinds of fractals, any of these kind of performance spatially, and it lets them see their baseline year over year and against their benchmark for the national accreditation. I'll have to keep going and move faster so I don't keep you all day on the video, but I switched tools to the unit performance, and this is sort of that raw look at it. I'll just zoom in a little bit here, or I could pick a station and I can choose, let's see, this is a fairly busy station for them, double company station, and I can see in the last day the calls that they've had. You can see the legend here, of it'll show the ones that they have had. They haven't had any fires, so that kind of grays out. Or I can show a density, I can see a concentration of where those things are falling, just nice map things. But this gives me a chance to see like if I'm making my turnout times or not. In this case, they don't have any calls that turned out in longer than 2 minutes, but they did have some that were 1.5 to 2 minutes. So one call really. So I could even click on the dial and dial dive into that. And I could see this call. I could see it was truck 67. I could see what it was, which kind of call, even the narrative. And then I can see if there was a reason why I turned out slower than I might have wanted to. In this case, they did fine. But this just gives the line, the fire personnel, a chance to not wait for a big report or accreditation to say how they performed. It lets them see how they're doing time over time. I can break that down by shift, station, even unit within the station, anything that you'd normally want. Incident performance is a similar thing. I'm just looking at it by incidents. I can look by the types of incidents, EMS structure, other, and I am looking at alarm processing time and total time. That's sort of the focus here. Keeping moving, I'm going to actually change what we call workspaces or view states. I'm going to go to the analytics workspace, and this is one of my favorite parts right here. I can look at any of the things that have happened, what kind of response, like all responses are non-canceled, false alarms. This helps me find things like motor vehicle collisions, open incidents for the same kind of thing. But I want to show you one other thing I do here. EMS metrics lets me pick and look at the types of procedures that I have. And this helps me really dig into the data and get all that records management system data, like from firehouse emergency reporting, out so I can see where it is, its pattern for stroke, STEMI, cardiacs, trauma, kind of whatever you want. So I love that part. And then another tool that we tend to use every day is also in this tools menu, and it's a report. So based on the date range I have here selected, I'm going to pick a bigger date range, maybe go back to the beginning of the year. For everywhere, just tell it to generate a report. I like to open this up in a new tab because I really want to see it. And it's gone back to the data, and what it's looking for is the same patients in the same places. And it's going to give me a report that shows me the places that are, I mean, every department calls them something different. Frequent flyers, most valuable, most loyal customers, whatever. But it says, I went to this street 4 times, and it describes, you know, the patient and the kinds of calls. And this helps me across shifts, jurisdictions, and databases find the places that are heavily, or the patients that are heavily utilizing my system, so I can focus on them with a different kind of intervention, or helping them get to the doctor, or medicine, or social work, or law enforcement, whatever we're doing. Sometimes it's as simple as I can compare and see that it's a assisted living home, and these people are calling, this facility is calling every single time they have a lift assist, and they're using us to do their lift assists. So I think that's an interesting way, so I can address that with them and talk to them about the appropriate uses of the 911 system, etc. So that kind of gives you a very quick overview of this. I promised you that I would stop by structure pre-plans here too, and that's the idea that every good tool is one that you use every day, not just occasionally or by a few people on staff. So I'll give you an example of how they use this. Operationally, this is an everyday tool. You can see these areas, all these little dash dotted lines are where I have facilities that are pre-planned. As I zoom in, I start to see more data. Oops, I clicked on the map. I'm still doing it. But now I'm seeing things about, oh, here's one over here. Here's like a warning. This is a gate. This is I think low clearance is what this is. And then I'm starting to see information about the facilities and exposures that I might have, or access problems. As I get closer, I'm seeing building numbers for navigation. I want to know where building 8 is, or as I get even closer, I'm going to see like systems within the building. Let me just zoom in a little bit more. And this is just works with a mobile app on Apple or Android devices. It works on this web browser too. And it's as easy as the crews put this in. So they can just click like on a door and click and put it over here. In this case, they put unit numbers or where the utility room was, just stuff they cared about. Lots of things to choose from, even map corrections. When they find a bad address or a code enforcement question, they just mark it on here, and the rest of the department picks it up. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. It took a few minutes longer than I wanted to keep you on the video. Feel free to call the people or email them on the referrals I gave you, or call me directly. And hopefully this video will tide you over until I get that demo up and running. Have a great day. Sorry I won't see you at SIPSy, but I'll see you soon.